Here we go, the Battle Mountain BFRO report in Thom Powell's book. Alright, y'all, I've heard of I've heard before in the past of a big wildfire. Seems like it was Mount Hood. It was a mountain. Seems like it was Mount Hood. I haven't looked into it lately, but I remember a report that some Bigfoot bodies were recovered, and a part of the government or the military had recovered them. I've heard that before, but reading this book here, The Locals by Thom Powell, he worked for the BFRO, so I want to read you this one part here where a BFRO report from a different mountain in a fire called Battle Mountain. So I want to read that to you. This is really interesting. And he said a firefighter was trying to stay anonymous, and he actually reported this. So let me read this here. Okay, so this compelling account was sent to the BFRO website on Sunday, August 8, 1999. 2 days earlier, a complex of range fires was started by lightning strikes as convective thunderstorms formed in the hot, dry August air over Battle Mountain, Nevada. So this area is a mining district riddled with abandoned mining tunnels, shafts. The juniper and scrubby sagebrush of the mountainous terrain around Battle Mountain exploded into several simultaneous range fires in what would eventually be known as the Battle Mountain Complex Fire. This is the report that the BFRO received before the fires even got large enough to make the news. Alright, and this is Thom Powell's book, The Locals. Like I said, he worked for the BFRO for a long time and did a lot of their investigations. Alright, so August 7th, 99, Battle Mountain, Nevada. I observed an animal wounded by fire moving on all fours. Let me start over there. Alright, I observed an animal wounded by fire moving on all fours, not like a bear, more like an ape. Firefighters captured the animal, contacted local vet and medical doctor, U.S. Department of Fish and Wildlife, Department of Interior, and Bureau of Land Management on the scene. Animal tranquilized and moved to unknown location. Those that seen told not to talk about what they saw. Animal approximately 7.5 feet long or tall, human-like arms and legs, face not like man or ape but mixed between. Genitalia was male, uncircumcised and human-like. Hair covering most of the body except the chest. The chest has hair but sparse. Hands with sparse hair, palms bare, with 5 digits with human opposition of thumb and 5th digit. Speech. Attempted to communicate with the caregivers once it realized they were attempting to care for it. Multiple burns to hands, feet, legs, and body. Some 2nd and 3rd degree burns. Using rule of 9s, approximately 45% of body with burns. Doctor and vet working together providing care, and moved it to unknown location locally. This notice given in violation of orders given by BLM, DOI, and DF and W. So he's saying this notice right here that he was given to the BFRO was in violation of the orders where they were told not to talk about it. So witnesses numbered in the area of 20 to 25. Word is out in the government agencies and among the firefighters. Since an MD was called out, many thought a firefighter was injured. Please note that I am a government employee of one of the listed agencies fighting brush fire in wilderness area of Nevada. A large-scale fire, approximately 70,000 acres burned, and under orders not to disclose information. I believe a cover-up is in the making. People need to know. The animal needs to be kept alive and studied and released in protected area. Alright, so that was from the firefighter that when he first contacted him. Alright, so on Monday, August 9th, the fire got its first publicity from the news media. Before that, we at the BFRO were unable to verify that there was indeed a fire in the Battle Mountain area. So late Monday, I was finally able to determine from Forest Service resources that there was most certainly a large range fire in this area of Nevada. A USFS Incident Management Situation Report stated that it is a Type 2 incident. Type 1 is the biggest, consisting of 13 separate fires. Pinyon pine and juniper fuels are showing some resistance to control. Current threats are to private ranches, communication sites, historical sites, and wildlife habitat. The Battle Mountain Complex fire has extended to 180,000 acres by Monday, August 9th. This was not overly large for a range fire, but it consisted of several dispersed fires that were probably lightning caused. It was 40% contained by Monday and had 610 personnel fighting it at that time. Again, that's not an overly huge commitment of resources. Fires in Oregon of 40,000 acres can have twice that many folks. On Monday, there were 22 engines doing mostly building and ranch protection, 2 choppers, and they had spent $495,000. Nothing else was heard from our witness despite email attempts to reach him. Then some 10 days after the initial report, the witness contacted our investigator by phone. Here is the report that the investigator prepared after speaking with the witness. So this is the report that the BFRO investigator had wrote up first. So fellow curators, much to my surprise, tonight, 8/19/1999, at about 9 p.m., the reporting party of the Battle Mountain incident called me. I had been hopeful that he would call after I emailed him, but today was the 10th day, and tonight or tomorrow I was going to post that I had had no contact, pretty much ending any further concern over the Battle Mountain thing. Tonight I talked with the gentleman for about 70 minutes. Although he is maintaining strict anonymity, I was able to put together a bit of a profile of the individual. This fellow, whom I will give the pseudonym Marty, so he's just calling him Marty, since he don't actually have a name for him, is a male full-time worker for a federal agency. Currently he is involved in the joint firefighting efforts in Nevada. He has extensive EMT training and experience. He says that until this incident he had seen it all in firefighting, and these days he stays mostly in the truck manning the radio. He is friendly but not effusive. He is intelligent, likable, and fairly observant, but he isn't outstandingly articulate. He is a matter-of-fact, low-key, seen-it-all kind of character. His regular duties may be in personnel, as he mentioned that tomorrow he would be seeing the MD involved in this incident, the medical doctor involved in this incident. about other matters regarding firefighting crews. It was obvious during our conversation that he was very tired. Our talk ended with Marty saying he had to get to bed to get some rest. Approximately 20 people were at the immediate vicinity of the incident. All were debriefed and informed in no uncertain terms that this incident was not to be discussed. There has not been a word about the incident at the BLM fire headquarters. He is very concerned about keeping his job and says he would not look forward to taking a lie detector test. He created an email address exclusively for reporting this incident. Although I had originally encouraged him to call me, collect, this lengthy call was on him so he could maintain absolute privacy. He is reporting this incident because he believes the information should get out. We agreed in any future communications to use the term patient to describe the Sasquatch, so I'll use it here. The incident happened in the early afternoon. About 20 firefighters were directly involved. The injured patient apparently wandered within sight of the fire crew and was then surrounded by the firefighters. The patient seemed to know that he was captured because he soon gave up. Marty mentioned this several times. He just gave up. The patient sat down on his buttocks, giving no evidence of a will to resist. Like a dog gives up and then you can do anything with it. The patient was laid out on the ground at first. His injuries were rather serious, including burns to the hands, feet, legs, and trunk, as well as much singed hair. It didn't take long for medical services to get on the scene. The attending medical team included the regular MD for the fire crews, a vet that Marty didn't recognize, and one or more paramedics. The vet was taken aback at working on a creature so human-like, and he is reported to have allowed the physician to do most of the work. At some point, Demerol and morphine were administered. The patient was placed on a spine board, which was too small. He was then placed on a regular ambulance stretcher. The sides were left down because part of the body hung over too far. The feet hung off the end. A cut down was performed to obtain an intravenous line. So I don't know what that is, a cut down. Some of y'all will know what it is. I'll ask my friend Rebecca, I'll ask her what it is too. A cut down was performed to obtain an intravenous line, and fluids were administered, lactated ringers and D5W. So some of y'all will know what that is. No physical restraints of any sort were necessary upon the patient at any time. He either didn't or couldn't make any effort to resist. No firearms were on the scene, although self-defense was possible using rakes, shovels, and fire axes. During the treatment of his wounds and the efforts at life support, the patient communicated with moans, groans, and grumbling. Bowel sounds were heard by Marty, who was as close as 3 feet from the patient. No language like vocalizations were heard. The patient responded to touch, specifically patting and stroking to calm him. You're not going to find an ape or a monkey responding the same way. 2 or 3 times Marty mentioned that the patient was especially responsive to a young Native American woman who started ministering to him right from the very beginning. The patient was removed from the scene in the back of a utility truck, not in an ambulance. Marty said an ambulance would have alerted townsfolk and possibly news reporters, thinking that a firefighter had been injured. No one would follow a nondescript van. The total time from initial sighting to extraction was estimated at three hours. There was no urination, defecation, or vomit at the scene. The patient did not eat anything during that time. Serum and blood were leaking from the burned areas of the body. The area of the arm on which the cut down was performed was shaved. The hair probably fell to the ground. There was significant blood from the cut down site and from the subsequent insertion of a venous line, and some of that blood dripped to the ground. So I take it that that's putting an IV in his arm is what they were doing there. Alright, so where did I get to here? Okay. So no one knows where the patient was taken. No video cameras were on the scene to film any aspect of the incident. The fire commander was present. He had a camera and he did record what he saw. So the patient is described as being about 7 feet tall, give or take a few inches. Marty does not give a weight estimate. Most of the body is covered by brownish hair, about 2 inches in length. No gray hairs are evident. There are no mats noted in the coat. There is an odor about the patient. It is not an especially obnoxious odor. Marty calls it a natural odor, but he had a hard time describing it. He said it is similar to a strong equine odor. The head is not sloped. The forehead is heavy boned. The lips large but human-like. The ears human-like and tight to the head. Chloe, lay down. Lay down. You can lay down there. Now leave the camera alone. Lay down. Lay down. I didn't want her to bump the camera. Chloe, lay down. Alright, she's going back in there. Alright, so let me start over right there where I was. So the head is not sloped. The forehead is heavy boned. The lips large but human-like. The ears human-like and tight to the head, with the earlobe attached, but not dangling. The teeth were yellow, but he couldn't comment on the wear. The patient is strong-jawed. He could not remember the color of the eyes, but thought they might be brown. The head is about 2 times the size of a human head. There is hair on the face, but not on the palms or soles of the feet. There is great bulk to the patient, but there is no fat. He said his observations of the form of the body did not match with that film with the one running into the woods, and he called that film a probable hoax. So I take it there that he's commenting about the Patty film, comparing this individual to Patty, saying that that this individual didn't look quite like Patty, that the Patty might be a hoax. The hands are about 1.5 times a human hand, 5 fingers with opposable thumb. The fingernails are thicker and heavier, and one was chipped. The feet are large, 5 toes on each foot. No evidence of fractures, injuries, arthritis, or deformation. The sexual features are those of an uncircumcised male, matching the human anatomy. Marty made the comment several times that these are not monkey or ape features. He felt he was in the presence of a very human creature. Marty sounded tired during my interview with him. That is understandable, as he has been on the fire line for several weeks without much time off. Alright, so Marty sounded tired during my interview with him. That is understandable, as he has been on the fire line for several weeks without much time off. He gave me much of the basic information above, but all the rest was fleshed out and answered to my questions to him. He wasn't hesitant in coming up with an answer to any of my questions, but one. That was, what time of the day did this incident occur? He fumbled a little, and decidedly it was early afternoon. This is also understandable, as morning blends in imperceptibly into afternoon and long days on a fire. He wasn't evasive in any way. He always had a reasonable answer, but he did a lot of searching for the right word. There was a lack of excitement in his voice when he spoke of the incident, as though he were a weathered old federal employee. He said 2 or 3 times as he answered some of my questions that he was getting goosebumps, that I have heard this before from credible witnesses, and I don't think it is something a hoaxer would come up with. So please give me your opinions on this goosebump business. You've all heard it. Some of the medical info he gave didn't ring perfectly true. Some of the medical info he gave didn't ring perfectly true. IV line for cross-matching blood, if necessary. Although he may have been trying to impress me with his medical knowledge, as he has been an EMT for many years, nothing in this interview contradicts anything in his original report, except for speech below. Although until questioned, he didn't offer much new information. I tried 2 times to get him to expand on the part in the original report where he said the patient tried to communicate with the caregivers. He said there was nothing recognizable as speech or vocal sounds other than moans, groans, and grumbling. I asked about any hand signals or motions or movements as acts of communication. He got a fuzzy negative reply. Marty does not seem to have any especially wide knowledge of Bigfoot matters. He indicated an awareness of the Patterson film and a couple other things, but does not seem to be a student of these matters. I have offered to speak with other people that were involved in this incident. I've offered to accept any and all collect phone calls from any phones. I will go to his location if more witnesses can be brought together. However, Marty says he doesn't plan on telling anyone he was in contact with us, fearing for his job. It is open for me to email him. It is open for me to email him with, as he said, any brainstorms I have. He is emailing me a website, possibly the same one that Thom Powell gave us, where I can follow the fire activity in that area. We had a good rapport, and future contact in either direction is possible. I have asked him to return to the scene and search for the hair from the shaved arm, or even the blood that dripped on the ground. He said he has access to the area, but probably wouldn't be able to return until after the fires are controlled. A little dew might have glued some hair to the ground, but it has been very dry there. Alright, so that was Doug. His name was Doug, the guy that just did the report there for the BFRO. And like I said, this is in Thom Powell's book. So Thom Powell worked for the BFRO for a long time. So in response to Doug's plea that someone return to the site and search for blood or hair evidence, Marty reported back to Doug as follows. So 26th of September 1999, fellow curators, I have a bit more on the Battle Mountain thing. I received a short email from Marty using his anonymous website. He was responding to my inquiry on whether he had been able to retrieve blood or hair samples. His entire message is, Dozer has torn area up. Dozer has torn area up, the bulldozer. Nothing left. Word is there is still life. Location unknown. Believed within a couple of 100 miles. Later, Marty. And that was from Doug that put that in there. Alright, so I wanted to read that to you. I thought that was really interesting. And that was from a firefighter, an EMT and firefighter that was out there in Nevada. And this, like I said, this is in the BFRO report. So I think that was really interesting, and I wanted to read that to you.